Hi everyone, Materim here again with another narrative battle. This one has the Dark Elves facing the Beastmen in an 1800 point battle line scenario. So this was a great game, and without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the narrative. The lone figure moved quietly among the rocks around the encampment, silently passing each guard post with ease and continuing to make her way into the center tent. She knew the path very well. She only came here at night while the majority of the troops were sleeping. She was not loved by them all, but they gave her the respect that she had earned. However, on this night she did not want to go through the inane rituals of respect. She made it to the main tent with ease, and as she began to pull back the opening flap, felt the touch of cold steel on her neck. "Impressive, Ketak. You have learned much since becoming the Dreadlord's pet," Shadowstalker whispered, feeling more of the weapons master's serrated blade digging into her pale flesh. She rubbed back against him, feeling her exposed flesh against his metallic armor. "The Dreadlord has been expecting your return for days, ever since Damarius's failure against the dwarves," Ketak whispered into the assassin's ear. He had seen her come and go for the past few months. He had waited for an opportunity such as this to impress the Canite. "I have been distracted. I have news that your master will want to hear, if you'll allow me in." Ketak released his hold on her as she turned to face him. "I shall see you again soon." She moved her small finger to cut the cut on her neck from the master's blade, and licked it as she resumed her entry into the Dreadlord's tent. Sinbane was standing over a table looking at a map of the mountains. His eyes did not rise from the table as he addressed the assassin. "You have kept me waiting. I assume that this delay was something unexpected," the Dreadlord said in almost a low guttural growl. "Indeed, my lord. I have news that you will find interesting, and even potentially profitable," Shadowstalker responded, looking around the room. She noticed to the Dreadlord's left a figure slumped forward in a chair. As her eyes focused, she saw the battered face of Sinbane's former pupil, Damarius. She saw him still taking breaths, but they were short and a bit raspy. "Ignore him. He has asked for my forgiveness. I'm currently debating that. What have you to say?" The assassin turned her gaze back to the Dreadlord, not wanting to provoke him further. "My lord, the slave master has taken a few ships and headed back to the Bretonnian coast. He wants more slaves to trade for a few more pets. He will send word to you upon his return." "That is what has delayed you? A message that one of his arcane concubines could have brought to me?" "No, my lord. As I was returning, I saw a small force bearing the mark of corn enter a forest a few miles from here. I followed them in to see what brought them out this far, and I heard the sounds of battle. They did not make it out of the forest." The Dreadlord immediately looked up and directly at her. "Azrai?" "No, my lord. Beastmen. A small force of them alongside a large gorgon. The warriors were surprised, and the fight was bloody. However, the beastmen were well fed." "This news will keep you alive for another day, assassin. My mistress has not had a beastman pet in a long time. Perhaps it is time to present her with some new toys." The Dreadlord smiled at the thought of pleasing Talandra. This would do well in doing so. "Ketak?" The Dark Elf weapons master immediately came into the tent, looking at Shadowstalker with a bit of longing before he faced his lord. "Master?" "Our assassin has informed me that there are beastmen nearby. Our mistress wants one for her studies, and I do not intend to disappoint her. Take Damarius and get him ready. He has this last chance to earn my favor. You and he take some troops and acquire me some new pets for Our Lady." "Yes, my lord." He bowed and collected the unconscious body of the former apprentice and moved out of the tent. He called out to the Dreichmaster standing nearby. "Ready your executioners, and inform the witch that we are to leave as soon as possible. We shall hunt the hunters." So, here is our battle line scenario. The terrain is all pretty normal. The lake in the center is Mysterious Lake. I think it ended up being a river of light. The one thing that did come up into game at one point is that the wall connecting the two buildings in the top left is a Blessed Bulwark, which halves the initiative of any forces of destruction that are adjacent to it. So that is going to come into play rather quickly in the battle. Other than that, none of the other terrain really came into a huge one way or the other. So let's go ahead and get into the deployment. So, starting with the Dark Elves on their left, we have a unit of 5 Doomfire Warlocks, and with them is Teloria, the Supreme Sorceress, level 4 to the Lore of Shadow, upon a Dark Steed, and she is bearing the Dispel Scroll. In the building is a Reaper Bolt Thrower. Next to that is a Bloodrack Medusa. Next to that is a unit of 23 Executioners with full command and the War Banner. Hanging out with them is Katok, the Master that is serving as the general of this force. He has the Sword of Might and a Talisman of Endurance. Next to that is a unit of 37 Black Ark Corsairs with full command. They have the Standard of Discipline. And with that is Demarius, the master that is serving as the battle standard bearer for this fight, who is bearing the armor of destiny. Next to that is a Charybdis, and that is the full and complete Dark Elf army there. And here's the Beastmen's starting on the left. And again, I apologize that there's so much of this that's unpainted and unassembled. I didn't realize how much it was even bothering me till I started going back through these photos. But the Beastman player is very interested in going early and is very behind on his painting, so please forgive that. Starting on the left here, we have a unit of 9 Ungor. And with them they have a musician and the champion upgrade special character Ungrol. Next to that is a 19 strong Bestigor herd. With full command, the Wailing Banner and Rot True Beast. I don't really know a lot of this stuff yet, so. And in that unit is Morgrul, who is the battle standard bearer. He has Many-Limbed Fiend, Gnarled Hide, additional hand weapon, Gouged Tusks, and the Beast Banner. Alright, and next there is a 40-man Gore herd with additional hand weapons and full command. With them is the Great Bray Shaman Morgor, who is a level 4 to the Lore of Wild. He has the Hag Tree Fetish, Talisman of Preservation, and the Steel Claws. Next to that is Zola, the Beastman's Gorgon. And over here is a level 2 Bray Shaman to the Lore of Shadow. He has the Skin of Man, which lets him be a scout. He also has the Shadow Hide and a Stone of Spite, which lets him blow up arcane items within a certain radius. Unfortunately, he forgot to do it until after the Dispel Scroll was used, so that was pretty much wasted points. But the Dark Elves did actually let him get around to the side there, so he's got a good kind of behind the lines to do some magical mayhem there, so that was definitely a point for the Beastmen. And Beastmen win the turn to go first, so we start here with the Bray Shaman moving around behind the Doomfire Warlocks. And the reason he did this is he has the Shadow spell that goes forward kind of like a cannonball and wanted to get just straight down the lines, particularly annihilating the War Machine there in the build. And beyond that, the Beastmen forces just go straight forward, really not being concerned about anything. The Bestigors did go up a little slower to not go into the water right yet this turn because you can't march into it. And I think he's nervous about what it might be. But other than that, he's holding a very strong line and just coming right towards the Dark Elves. So the Beastmen couldn't get anything off magic-wise, and they don't have any shooting, so we go into the Dark Elves' turn. No charges on the Dark Elves side, but the Doomfire Warlocks turn around to try and handle this pesky mage hanging behind them. The Bloodrack Medusa actually moves up to be garrisoned behind the walls of the building, or the Blessed Barricade, as you see there, and just waiting for something to come within range of its stony gaze. And sad to say, Dark Elf magic and shooting were also absolutely completely awash, and they didn't move anything else. So we go into Beastmen 2 already, and as you can see, the Bestigor Horde decided to say, forget that water and charge into the Bloodrack Medusa that's right here behind the wall. Unfortunately, the lowered initiative there is going to be definitely a pain in the butt when you have to factor in the Medusa's turn you to stone and kill you bit, which is all initiative based, and that's definitely going to cause some problems for the Beastmen here in a moment. And then here you see that he tried a charge with his gore into the execution, or not the executioners, the corsairs, and botched it, so he stumbles forward 3 inches or so. And then he managed to restrain with the Gorgon, so it didn't have to try and charge, so he just moved it alongside to protect the Gore's flank from the Charybdis. And then here he moves the small Ungor herd with Ungrel in it up to the wall, hoping to charge over them and into the Doomfires if they're still there next turn. And then here, having just luckily not eaten any electric blazing magical death from either the Sorceress or the Doomfires, the one Bray Shaman runs over here to get out of their forward arc. I personally thought he probably should have just charged the building, because I'm pretty sure the Bray Shaman would be able to take 2 crewmen from a bolt thrower, but that's not what he decided to do. So we go into combat here, and obviously the Ungor herd just tear up the Medusa, but not before the Medusa's stone sight kills the Beastman's BSB. His initiative was, I think, 2 or 3 because of the haft, and he just botched it and died. But the Ungor chopped up the Medusa and overran to catch the back of the Doomfire Warlocks, which has the Dark Elf level 4 in it as well. So then we go into Dark Elf turn, and the Dark Elves, the Corsairs, basically there was a bunch of failed charges here. I think the Corsairs and the Executioners both failed a charge into the front of the Corsairs, and then the Charybdis, I don't remember if he chose not to charge with it or failed to charge, but it was pretty bad. There was some serious bad dice luck rolling. And I'm giving the figure here just because it was so funny. He turns around with the bolt thrower, fires off 6 bolts, needing 3s to hit this Bray Shaman, and hits 0 times. That was the Bray Shaman just giving the finger to the Dark Elf artillery because it's just not doing crap today. And then here in combat, because the Beastmen don't have any other, I don't think they did anything caster-wise either. The magic has been pretty ineffective. But the Bestigor herd just beats the crap out of the Doomfire Warlocks. I think there's 1 left. It breaks, and he runs it down. So he kills the Doomfire Warlocks and the level 4 Supreme Sorceress. And it's definitely, I mean, there was complaints on the Beastman side when the BSB died. Now there's complaints on the Dark Elf side. So it's like they're both taking these huge losses, and the game's swinging really back and forth in the span of like 1 turn, which I think is awesome as a spectator. I thought it was a blast to watch. So here we finally have the Gore. So this is top of 3, I think. The Gores finally get the charge into the Corsairs, and I'm not entirely sure how well they are. I don't know the Gores very well, but I know the Beastman player was happy for this. Over here, the one little Ungor unit with the named champion charges the bolt thrower, so it's going to be taking some pretty significant damage here relatively soon. And here you see the Bestigors who chase down the Doomfires end up just reforming, and you can see way in the back the Beast Shaman of Shadow is running like heck to try and get over to that big fight, so he might be able to buff it because he does have the Mind Razor that he can cast. And here's just a better image, a better picture of where he ends up. So I don't think the Beastmen get anything off this turn magic-wise, so we go into combat and start over here at the assault into the building. And as ridiculous as it was, the Dark Elf crewmen kill off 2 of the Ungors, and then the character plus the Ungors only manage to kill 1 of the 2 crewmen, so they get pushed out, and that bolt thrower is still there and able to fire next turn. And here in combat, you can see each side manages to peel off about a rank off of the other. And mainly the Dark Elves are just having a lot of trouble with that Strength 3 against the Toughness 4. So it's not easy for them wounding on 5s. But I don't remember who even wins, but they hold here, and then it's Dark Elf's turn. So Dark Elf's turn, obviously Gorgon slams into the side of the herd here, and the Executioners slam into the other side. Actually, now that I'm looking about this, they may have gotten off. Yeah, I think he did get off Mind Razor on the Gore herd last turn. That's why he did as much damage as he did. So it's a Mind Razored herd, and everything in the world has come to slam into it. So, with the Dark Elves having nothing, the Corsairs just get absolutely obliterated. However, the Monster and the Executioners in on the flank are enough to destroy and break the unit, and I think the only thing that escapes is the Great Bray Shaman. So we go into the Beastman's next turn. The Gorgon charges at what's left of the Corsairs. They flee, roll 3 inches, get run down. Their destruction panics the Corsairs, which turn and run. And you'll see that, so they turn and run into the River of Light. When they get there, they get blasted by banishment, I think, and take a couple of wounds when they run into the water. But you see, after he ran down the fleeing unit, here's where the Gorgon is standing now, looking at that now fleeing unit of Executioners. So, it's definitely taking a turn for the worse in the case of the Dark Elves here. Then over here, you see that the Bestigor herd finally getting tired of the Bolt Thrower, which again failed to kill the level 2 that was throwing Occams in the back. Gets charged by the whole Bestigor herd. It's just going to get the living crap beat out of it. Okay, now that I see this picture, I have to go back and clarify something. I was correct that the Gore herd had gotten Occams on it. What I had forgotten until I went over this point is that he used the spell, or the ability from the Shadow spell, to switch places, pull his Great Bray Shaman out, and threw in the level 2 into the unit. So the level 2 died. The one character that's there running around by himself is the Great Bray Shaman, and he's chasing down the Charybdis, trying to kill it with magic. Again, sorry for the confusion there. It's much harder, I find, doing battle reports when I'm not actually playing in the battle and I'm watching it, because I get so interested in the action I'm not even paying attention. But so that clarifies that. We go into combat here, and he just absolutely massacres this Bolt Thrower. So that, a Beastigor herd. Bolt Thrower is just not going to do it. I think they may have killed one Beastigor before they just got absolutely destroyed. So, Dark Elf turn. Pretty much all they can do is rally the executioners, and the Charybdis turns around to face the back end of the Gorgon, and that's pretty much it. And here's the Charybdis staring down the back end of the Gorgon, as I just. So, Beastmen turn. The Gorgon and the Great Bray Shaman decide to basically be wussbags and just run backwards out of the Charybdis's charge arc. So, at least at this point, we're not going to see any awesome monster on monster action. And here you see the Gore herd with Ungrol moves to the other side of the wall so that they're in the flank of the executioners as they're standing right now. Now, what I'm pointing out here is the die next to that Ungor unit. Now, Ungrol, the character, is this weird dude that, like, at the start of either turn, he turns into either a warrior or a wizard. So this turn, he turned into a wizard just in time for the Great Bray Shaman to miscast and inflict a wound to him and the... I think the Great Bray Shaman ward saved it, but yeah, it was just funny. That's the only turn he spent as a wizard the whole game, just in time to catch the all wizards take a wound from miscast. So that was pretty funny. And you can see there that the Bestigor herd is still in the building from when they've killed the War Machine last turn. So realizing that the monster and character are just going to run circles around the Charybdis, the Charybdis says, screw this, and starts making his way towards the center of the board. Luckily, for the Dark Elves, the Ungor herd are just, or Gore herd, I don't even remember what they are at this point, I'm sorry, are just over to the side enough for the executioners to charge the building on a long bomb, and they make it. So, executioners versus Bestigors. And no shooting, no magic. So we go into combat. As you can see, it was pretty bloody on both sides. It ended up coming down to an exact draw. And they both had musicians, so it was a draw. The executioners get pushed back. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So we got to go into Beastman turn. Over here, you see, figuring that this is turn 6. I know it seems to have gone by fast, but we wanted to see if there could be some hot monster on monster action, and the Gorgon got performance anxiety and totally whiffed his final charge to take it into the back of the Charybdis, which was just really, really funny to me. And then, in kind of a puss move, the Bestigors step backwards out of the building so that there is no way that anything in the game can get them. He just saved the points there. So, I mean, I guess it was a smart move, but maybe it's just the ogre in me says, screw it, do bloodshed even if you lose. It's awesome. So... didn't even bother taking a bottom of 6 because the Dark Elf player literally had nothing he could do. There was nobody in his front arc. He couldn't get any extra points. So this is what the board looks like at the end of 6 turns. The remaining Beastmen collected themselves into ragtag teams that moved about the field, consuming all the dead and wounded the Elfkin could not escape with. The Gorgon feasting the most, as was its right. All that could be heard were the mad cries of the poor elves that still lived as the feast began. It was soon silenced by the mad screams of Morgor at the wounded body of Morgrul. "Brother! Who did this?" the great Brace screamed. The Bestigors pulled out the body of the Medusa, and then that of the still living elf, dressed far finer than the others. "Oh, you! First you slow the hunt for my lady, then you fool creature harm my brother. No, 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 you must be punished," the Bray's voice echoing with greater madness. "Morgor will not kill you. No, too easy, too easy. But Morgor will allow you to be slowly changed by the old ones. Then Morgor will feast." As the elf master was pulled deeper into the camp, Morgor collected his brother and turned back in the direction his lady was fleeing. Leaping atop the Gorgon, he brayed and laughed. "Zola, hunt!" And the words left his lips. The Gorgon bolted through the tree line, slamming tree and creature aside. The hunt was renewed. Alright, so as you can see, a victory for the Beastmen here. I guess first thing I learned as an observer is I really need to pay more attention to these battles while I'm watching them. I noticed my pictures were spotty, and I do very much apologize for that. It's a little harder, and I got to get used to taking these battle reports when the other guys are playing. As far as what I saw, it was very interesting. The battle was very back and forth. It really, I mean, it looked like it was going to start really going downhill for the Beastmen when they lost their BSB turn 1 or 2, whatever it was, to that Medusa, which, by the way, is the best I've ever seen one of those things do. But then it flipped back and forth. I mean, almost immediately afterwards, the Doomfires and the level 4 were killed from the Dark Elves, and I mean, it was just back and forth the whole time. And it literally just came down to points. Now, as far as how the battle ended, from a competitive standpoint, I absolutely understood why the Beastman player did what he did. He avoided combat with the Gorgon. He avoided combat in that last turn with his Bestigors because he needed those points to win. If he had lost either of those points, it was going to be enough to swing the game. So I absolutely understand that. From a narrative point of view, I'm very, very disappointed. The Beastmen, everything I know about them, just I would have thought going more bloody, just to kill what could be killed, would seem more narratively appropriate. But I think that's the interesting dilemma that as narrative players we have, trying to walk that line, that very thin line at times, between playing the game to win and being able to stay true to the fluff and the narrative of your army. So, I probably would have stayed in the building and let the elves come to get me, just because it would have been badass. I also probably would have taken the Gorgon straight into the Charybdis early on, and maybe I would have lost this game. It's hard to tell, but that's what I would have done. All in all, this was basically just a speed bump, apparently, on the Beastmen on Morgor's hunt for Anya of the Snowmane tribe. So that hunt is going to continue going from here on in. The Dark Elves are just kind of getting beat back left, right, and down the center. So it'll be interesting to see at what point they're going to get tired of having their little groups beaten and send the big guns in. Because so far the Dark Elves have only been attacking in small raiding groups and stuff of that nature. So I'm looking forward to where the scenarios go and the narrative goes from here. I hope you guys are too. Please, if you like this video, subscribe to the channel, like the video below, and leave any comments that you might have. Otherwise, I will see everyone later, and I very much appreciate you watching, and we will catch you next time.